Is it gonna take that long? I hope not.
Let's hope not.
All right, 7 o'clock.
All right. I'll call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Roll call. Alderwoman Annamarie.
I'm here.
Alderman Mike Hoeflich.
Here.
And Alderwoman Lori Lancaster.
Here.
And Alderman Perkins is here. All right. There's no one that's going to be communicating through electronic attendance, so we're not talking about that. Is there any public comments that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, move on. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 3rd of 2026?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 3rd, 2026.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, line item number 6, approve closed session minutes of February 3rd of 2026. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the closed session minutes of February 3rd, 2026.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
And then I'm assuming this is supposed to be line item number 7 for the planning zoning UDO text amendment, indoor parking space requirements reduction. It's number 7.
Catch that.
I just
Make that number
caught
7.
it just now.
That'll throw us off, but I'll make that, make sure that adjustment's made. So yes, number 7.
Number 7, this is a consideration of the city council petition to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, otherwise known as UDO, to reduce indoor parking space requirements and to correct, I can never say that.
Typographical.
Yep, errors within the ordinance. Who wants to go over that?
Would you like to present or would you like me to do it tonight? Would you like to present or would you like me to do it tonight?
Okay, upon calling several of the area municipalities, I reached out to several of them, and none of them really had an ordinance similar to ours as far as parking garages. In fact, most of them preferred that they instead of the garages that they had seen would more or less gather rubbish or what ended up being garbage, or it never ended up being, it was more of a storage area for them, that there most of the time there wasn't even a car parked there. So nearly all of them didn't have anything in their ordinance for garages because of that, and they preferred to have open parking spaces. I, for one, lived at Northfield for a short amount of time, and that was the biggest hurdle, I think, as far as parking there. There just wasn't enough parking, and then for visitors, there was a separate area, and they have many parking areas for many garages there. That and I seen the same thing. I seen nearly nobody parking in them. You know, it was just storage.
If I may, what happens is, in our current ordinance, the requirement is for 2 parking spaces, one in the garage and one on surface parking lot.
For
So,
multifamily
yeah,
dwellings.
for multifamily dwellings. So the problem here is because residents will store stuff in their garage and not park a car in there, they then park in the parking lot. And then they're taking another parking space that's meant for another resident, because you only should have one parking space in the parking lot. And so this creates parking problems in multifamily developments. And so the solution is either A, reduce the number of garages and have more parking in the parking lots that would be available for those residents to utilize, as well as visitors, without creating more stormwater retention issues, because now we can reduce the number of garages on the site. So our UDO calls for one parking space in a garage per unit, and the request is to reduce that to half a car. So basically one garage for every 2 units, and then the additional parking would be in a parking lot for those residents that don't have garages, because a multifamily facility is going to charge you extra for a garage. So you may have families that don't even want to rent the garage, and they would just have parking lot spaces assigned to them. So that's the ask, and as Clayton had indicated, we went and asked other municipalities, what's in your ordinance for this particular issue? And what we're finding is that many of the municipalities did not have a parking garage requirement for these type of developments. Now, I think a point was brought up earlier by you, Matt, in that, like Autumn Glen, all of their parking is underneath of the apartment complexes, and those would be inside parking spaces. So if it was a development that all of their parking was under the property, then I think you're going to have to require parking 2 spaces per dwelling in those kind of scenarios. So perhaps the ordinance can be written to differentiate between those 2 type of developments, where you're not going to require those inside parking when they have, let's call them, detached garages from the building.
So the text amendment as written in the request of the planning and zoning document that's in front of you was reviewed by city attorneys, and we could add language to that to restrict the amendment to specify exterior garages only, and then attached or underground garages would not apply.
Okay. Any of you guys have any questions?
So you want to reduce it to half?
Right, so in terms of the number of garages required for a multifamily
So then how much would
facility,
they need outside?
well, then they would need 1.5 outside per dwelling.
2 per dwelling would still be the
Yeah,
requirement,
right.
but only
Uh-huh.
half would have
Yeah,
to
but
be.
how can you get a half?
So if there's like 200 units.
they would
I
build
understand
50
what you mean,
garages,
but
right.
you can't really utilize it for a car, is what I'm saying.
No, there'll still be 50 garages.
Right, but there won't be enough.
The point is if you build 100 garages, 50 of those garages are likely to be full of stuff and not be utilized for cars. And so now you would need additional 50 parking spaces in addition to the 50 garages to accommodate them. In this case, if you only made 50 garages instead of 100, you could still have the spaces in the parking lot.
Yeah, I understand
Still have
that
the-
concept.
I
Less
think
garages.
we may be, and again, maybe I'm missing it, maybe it's in another part of the ordinance, but I think this also has to do with the number of bedrooms that has to be with a unit. And let me explain my position on this. If you have a 2-bedroom unit, I think having 2 parking spaces is perfectly acceptable. If you have a 3-bedroom unit, now you can have a home with 3 teenagers and a parent. You have 4 vehicles in that house potentially, in that apartment. So I think we might be, if we're concerned about parking in those areas, I think we might be missing something here. I think we might not be fully exploring what we need to do.
So if you look at current code for any residence, requires at least 2 parking spaces. Single-family homes, to have a garage, tend to have 4 because you have 2 in the garage and 2 outside of the garage, regardless of the number of bedrooms that are in the household. The issue here is the minimum requirements that we're requiring versus the maximum. So if a developer wanted to add additional parking spaces to accommodate larger bedroom units, that would be their prerogative, but what's determined by the UDO is a minimum.
Right, well, that's what I'm concerned about. If he wants to, he can add more, but if that's the UDO, if he's building luxury apartments, we can't tell him he has to. That's my concern.
We already see a problem with the parking issues in other subdivisions that are single-family homes that have a lot of bedrooms and a lot of kids that are teenagers, because everybody needs to drive to work, everybody needs to go here or there. And so already limiting them,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be helpful at all.
I just think that, our community in itself and the way people live today it's changing. It's not what it was in 2004 even. It's changed a lot. Kids are staying home longer. The college kids are not going away to school. They're staying at home. They're going to MCC. People my age are taking in their parents. And then caregivers have
Or
to come into
brother
the
or
houses.
sister.
Yeah. And so I don't want to pass something that is going to 10 years from now, when I'm not here, be obsolete. I want to be able to try and look at where we're going. And I understand we need to make this good for developers. We want, you guys know me, I'm all about, affordable housing and that type of thing. But I also want to make sure that when we think about this, we think about it strategically.
So the argument is the original code requirement for the indoor parking space was for aesthetics and architectural design. It wasn't for space. The research or the opinions of the other communities that were researched were that the reason the garages were not required is due to the fact that, and I believe it was mentioned earlier, they're used as storage space. So yes, I have 2 garage spaces, but I also have parking spaces outside. So I actually have 4 spaces. So I live in my apartment. I'm going to take all of my things and I'm going to put them in my 2 garages, and I'm going to use 4 parking spaces outside. Now there's not enough parking spaces for everybody else, and now you have overflow issues into the street or wherever the complex might be. And that's why some of these other communities don't require these parking garages, although they don't restrict them either. A lot of developers will build the garages because they can charge extra for their rent or whatever, and knowing that they do use them for storage space, and then maybe they accommodate by putting more outside spaces.
So having lived, and you probably know this, having lived at Northfield, having lived in apartments before, I signed my lease, and my lease says I have 1 parking spot, and if I don't park in my spot, I get towed.
That happens too.
But just to support your statement, Annamarie, that's why we want to change this, is so there is more parking available. You'll find that instead of garage spaces that are used for storage, there's more spaces available for people to park at. And that's really the whole purpose in the ordinance, for more parking.
So I see really 2 issues, I think, that you're bringing to the table. The issue that the city has brought forth is about parking garages and reducing the minimum number. I think you're also then in orchestration to that, wanting to set a minimum number based on apartment, not the size of the apartment.
Apartment
Bedrooms.
occupancy.
Right.
I just think that,
So,
and if that has to be a separate ordinance, that has to be a separate ordinance. I'm not married to a garage. I mean, I can tell you right now that that's why I took the Kia here, is because my husband has all the motorcycles on his side of the garage. So that's what's going on there. We're just very fortunate to have a very long driveway. But again, that is, yes, you've stated that correctly. That is, I'm not opposed to not having a minimum number of garages. I'm just wondering if this is complete or if there's something else we need to attach to it to make sure that if a developer comes in and, we've got an R6 place, but that R6 happens to be on, let's just say, Northfield, where there is no parking, and now all of a sudden we may have some trouble. And I'm just concerned. I want to make sure there's enough, if we have multi-units, there's enough parking spaces.
Largest bedroom capacity in Northfield.
2.
It's 1 and 2 only.
It's 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And again,
Actually-
they might not have 3, 3-bedroom apartments aren't something that are very common out here. That's more something you get with a townhome or that type of thing. But I have seen in Crystal Lake and in
I
Woodstock.
grew up in a 3-bedroom apartment.
I did
so-
too, yeah. But I mean, like in Crystal Lake and Woodstock, they'll call it a 2-bedroom with an office because it doesn't have a closet.
Right.
Or it doesn't have an egress window. But that's not to say that people will
Comes
not,
one.
put the bunk beds in there and call it quits. That's again, I have no problem with reducing garages. My concern is does this actually truly address the parking issue in multifamily? And are we making sure that is 1.5 spaces per unit enough, or do we still need 2?
Well, it would still be two spaces per unit. One of those spaces could be a garage. So how it works is the total number of units, they would only build a garage for 50% of that total. But the way the ordinance is written is 0.5, so that's how you derive that.
Fair enough.
I wanted to say, I kind of disagree on the garage used for storage space. Well, I'm not sure, but like my son, he's been moving in different apartments for the last 5 years, 3 different places. They have waiting lists to get a garage. So they're lacking garages. One's in Sharon, Wisconsin. You got to get on a waiting list. One's a brand new place in Delavan, and another place he lived in East Troy. So just food for thought. So I don't know. I think they're needed. 1 per car, 1 per apartment.
Okay?
Lori?
I just want to make sure there's adequate parking for everybody. I totally agree with you because Alderwoman Platt-Miller, because of the fact that there are a lot of kids still living at home. When we had, my son before he moved out, it was just a real juggle to make sure all the parking, is proper and not ticketed offenses. And you don't want to pretty much make it so that nobody comes and visits you if you live in an apartment complex because there's no parking anywhere. So I just want to make sure that there is enough parking if we do this. And I can understand the fact about the garage because a lot of people don't use it technically as storage, but as workplaces for doing different kinds of projects so that way they can earn money and stuff.
So for clarification, we need to make sure in the other sections of the UDO that the parking spaces, the outdoor parking space requirement is going to be adequate enough that if we reduce this to half a parking space from 1 indoor parking space, there is still adequate parking within the multifamily.
Yes.
Got it.
I think there should be 1 indoor and 1.5 outside.
Well, I do know that they always build more than, because they have to accommodate visitors.
Because the
as well.
apartments, like right in town here,
Which ones? There's,
by Motorola, that one over there.
Autumn Glen?
Bottom going, yeah. You go over there, there ain't no visitor parking over there. You got to park in the street.
Yeah, because no one parks in the garage, right? But an underground garage probably, because they have they got the visitor parking space, but the underground is for residents, but not a lot of people park underneath there, I don't think.
Which is kind of why this ordinance is important in the sense that it's
So
obvious.
You got to have room for guests too, people
Yeah,
coming
so-
over.
Both points are, I think, we just worked all that out together. Look at us. That sounds like an agreement.
I guess they can't park on the street. Overnight.
So is there a way we can, before we bring this whole thing to city council, make sure that the ordinance, that we have it so that we have enough
Well, it
adequate?
depends on what enough is. So right now it would be 4, right? You have 2 indoor and 2 outdoor.
Okay,
So if you reduce it to half indoor, then you would have 3 outdoor. So you still have 4 regardless.
For each
So you would-
apartment?
Per unit.
Oh, okay.
4 per unit.
Is it 4 per unit or 2 per unit?
It's
sorry,
two,
two,
yeah,
yes,
I was
2
gonna
per
say.
unit.
Oh, I
Four-
was saying
I was
four, I
gonna
go
say 2
out.
per
I
unit.
we shouldn't have a
I thought it
problem.
I was okay with that.
So 2 per unit.
Then,
Yeah.
and then there's an excess number that they assign for visitors based on the number of units they have, but I don't know. what
Right,
that-
yes,
I
there would
don't
be
know what that-
visitors.
I
So
don't know what
2
that
per
formula
unit,
is.
so you're not losing any. So what you're asking is that we go back to the UDO and reevaluate the entire multifamily complex, which is a whole nother issue. So you're not reducing the parking spaces we have now by taking half away, because you're putting it outside, you're still having 2 per unit. So the ask is something completely different than this. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I'm not sure that's correct because I don't have the rest of it in front of me, if that makes sense. I understand what you're saying, but not having the entire ordinance in front of me, I feel I have incomplete information. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, Coonet's out here, do they have, because you gotta rent the garages separately, don't they? Isn't that extra, I believe?
That's my understanding, yes.
So that they don't have no other storage area for people, for the apartment, so that's why they're using it for their stuff in there.
I don't understand the question.
So they need the one car full garage no matter what, is what I'm saying.
Well, there's also self-storage facilities in the community that they could rent.
Yeah, but it's sure nice to have it there.
Agreed, which is why,
But they should have the option to
Developers
have
say
them park
that
their car in the
often
garage. That's my-
that people use them as self-storage facilities instead of
I mean, they might just
actually
do
parking
it
the car.
temporarily, like for a couple months if they're working on it.
Well, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to make sure this is correct and bring it back for the next meeting? Annamarie?
I'm just rereading this
Okay.
to see if I can see what Deb is saying and that maybe I missed something.
So if you look in 14.2 of the actual.
That's exactly, I'm trying to
And
see
you
where
look
I'm
at
missing.
H, okay?
Okay.
The proposed amendment does not seek to add or eliminate elements to the code, only to reduce the restrictions. So we're not changing any quantities, we're just reducing the restriction of the quantity.
The restriction of the quantity of garage space. Right?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? From 1 to 1/2 per unit.
What year was that made up originally?
So for any multifamily dwelling unit where there are 3 or more dwelling units, and in any R55 zoning district, at least 1 indoor space, parking space shall be provided to each unit. So the ask is to reduce that to half an indoor parking space per unit. And then,
So
in terms of parking,
we would add language then that would be, we would add that to that quantity to the outdoor space.
That's what I'm looking
That's what
for.
you're looking for.
That's what I'm looking for. To make sure that it's not just fully eliminated.
Mike, from the other communities that I had called as well, what they had found too is anybody that is deciding to develop multi-units have taken it upon themselves to add additional storage. So taking away from some of the garages, what they've found that many of them now have space available for extra outdoor parking, but also that whoever the developer is providing smaller spaces.
Right, my son has one of those in Delavan.
Yeah, that are on premise.
It's a brand-new place there.
Well, if I were to, I guess how I would want it would be that we could reduce the requirement of indoor parking as long as it was equal or above parking.
So it would be a modification of the language in addition to the language for exterior garages.
Sure that way they don't just go the opposite direction and use the space for something else, but actually make sure that it has at least the same amount of parking still available.
Just,
It's going to have to be an amendment.
Well, I was just trying to
I-
find where it indicated the number of parking spaces per unit. I guess this is the applicable ordinance.
Okay, so I guess the question on my end then is to get with legal counsel to figure out if that's a text amendment for this section or if that's an amendment for a separate section.
Right.
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Sorry to be so difficult.
No, not
Okay.
at all. We're gonna make sure we get it right.
So we will bring this back after that research is done.
Thank you.
Cars are getting so much more expensive, people like keeping them inside, too.
Well, and that's a whole other thing about the garage heights. I'm not even going to get into that.
All right, so line number 8, planning and zoning UDO text amendment, fence variation on corner lots. Consideration of city council petition to amend the UDO to allow the zoning administrator to administratively approve fence variation request on corner lots and to establish a process for city council to review upon denial. All right, you want to go with this, Clayton?
Okay, so our current ordinance does not allow for corner lots, the side yard abutting the road for the fence to be out past the house. So, which would mean that on a corner lot, both your front and side of the house is considered front yard. Okay, so currently, unless you were to seek a variance, this would not be allowed on any corner lot for a fence, which the majority of the time after going through and seeking a variance gets approved when there's no site hazards or, when there's really no issues with anybody passing by with a bike or pulling out of a different driveway, crossing and going through the sidewalk. Previously, a few years ago when we had passed this ordinance, there was an issue on a corner lot to where the fence abutted right next to a driveway. So based on that, the ordinance was changed because of the view was hazardous. The person backing out of the driveway then couldn't see past the fence, and being that the fence was so close to her driveway. We have found that the majority of the time, after looking, Alderman Mike and I looked through different areas, and we hadn't found that there were too many situations that were a safety concern. And then there are some, like that situation that is right there on
So
Rose Lane.
What's
So-
being displayed is the actual household area where the ordinance came to be. The residents of this household, when trying to back out because of this fence up to the sidewalk on their property line, created a site hazard when trying to back out of their garage. So hence, this is how the ordinance came to be on corner lots. This is a bit unique because this house is 90 degrees from this house because this house is on Casey Lane, and the first house here is on Rose Lane. Now, I'll show you another,
if you could look-
I'm gonna show you another example where this isn't an issue, was brought to you, here. If this fence went all the way out to the sidewalk to include this as side yard, it is not an issue for this resident behind them. So the ordinance, though the way it's currently written, doesn't allow this resident to put the fence out to the sidewalk because of the way the ordinance is currently written. But the whole reason the ordinance was written is not applicable to this property. And so, hence, in order for him to overcome this, he has to request a variance and pay and do all these things, when the ordinance, when it was created, was not for this type of scenario. And so now residents who are in a back-to-back type of situation are now unnecessarily being required to do a variance. And the request here is to allow city staff to analyze when these requests come in, to be able to determine when it's permitted and when it's not.
Seems like a logical conclusion.
Actually, we looked at multiple corner lots. I walked Park Point, and they're all were okay, except like one or two.
Yeah, there's just throughout the community, they
So
do
why should
exist.
everybody
That's
get
the whole
penalized?
point
That's
of
the reason why I brought it up. Is why should everybody? They're paying taxes. They got to maintain it. Why not be able to use it?
So I understand the safety concerns, and that's why it would be a case-by-case scenario. I would say 8 out of 10 of them, it works. Then there might be solutions for the others. But if, and perhaps angling it, but as we've seen, not utilizing, you're losing out on a large part of your yard by not having that section of fence. And like I said, the majority of the time it works without any safety concerns.
Okay, can I come up?
Yeah.
Yes, you may.
Yeah, I don't doubt any of the things. I guess I have some procedural questions here more than anything. One of the things when I read this is no one ever talked about aesthetics in this. Yet it's a huge number 2 when it comes to fences on property lines. And it's not mentioned at all. And I think that's also one of the reasons why it requires a variance, and why we have to notify neighbors around them so that they can say something about it. It does change the look of the neighborhood. It creates canyonism. Because especially on intersections where it is possible to have 4 fences along all 4 properties on that corner. And that is an ugly look, in my opinion. I mean, we spent a ton of time on how far garages stick out in front of houses. And now we're going to turn everything into F Troops Fort Courage. Because that's what it looks like to me. I'm sorry. The other thing is that it basically takes that right away from those homeowners that are right next to them, because they won't know anything until the first hole is dug for the fence, and they'll have nothing to say about it. The way this is set up too is you're replacing the zoning and planning committee with Clayton. And the ordinance still says it requires a variance. You specifically say in this proposal that it's still a variance. Only the variance is approved by Clayton instead of the planning and zoning. I don't think that's right either, because variances, by definition, require it to meet a set of standards, which are never mentioned in here either. As a matter of fact, Mayor, would you be willing to bring up section 1.15? There has to be a hardship.
What section?
1.15,
One?
A4.
Oh, I didn't. That's words. 1.4. A4.
Okay, my eyes aren't very good, but I think it's 4A there. Could you read that, Mayor, because I can't.
Certainly here, we can even, can I increase the size of this? Well, I can read to you. So the particular surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience.
Okay, so so right now, the way the code reads, you have to have a hardship in order to get a variance for this fence. We're ignoring that completely here, or are we? In other words, is Clayton now going to determine whether or not there's a hardship, and will he reject a fence if there isn't one?
That's why we're going to change it.
Well, my point is this, it doesn't have to be answered now, but it's something to think about. And I think that the other part of that is, or, because there's a part two to this, or is the real goal just to make it easy to put a fence on your property line, on a corner lot? Is that what you really want to do? And if it is, then change the UDO. And to do that, you need to, decouple the front yard and the side yard and make them separate and sit down and figure out what you want those rules to be for those side yards. And if it includes a fence, so be it. But this will give you an opportunity to actually look at this and say, well, what should the fence be made out of? How far back from the sidewalk should it be? You have the triangle method of 25 feet for corners, but what is it for a driveway? You don't know, because there is no rule. To me, this is half-baked. And you could do it either way, but if you're going to make it a variance, then it has to be a variance based on those rules that we have.
Charlie, when we did the driveways, how did we change that?
That wasn't the same,
Okay.
because we did change the UDO.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's how
Yes.
we did it. Okay.
Well, my input to this is, this is an issue that the committee wanted on the agenda to review, and
I'm not upset.
so,
with it.
you bring up excellent points
I
to the
didn't want to wait
issue.
for the third meeting.
Yes,
to
but
bring
you
this up.
bring up excellent points that the committee should consider when determining how they want these changes to come about and what standards that they want to set.
So perhaps you could table it, give it more thought and so on, and decide. But, obviously, if you want to have those fences on sidewalks, that's fine, but we need to have rules and how they work and so on. And if not, we have to follow the rules. And I don't like the idea of just having one guy make those decisions, because I think the variance system shouldn't be messed with. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. He did bring up a good point. If the committee wants to, I guess, kind of go with this, I would say, because we did this with driveways, change the UDO, not just change it this way. That's a good thing about having other people speak up, because I forgot. That's how we did it. But now knowing that, the hardship and variance, then we pretty much, why have a planning and zoning? We shouldn't even have that then if we're just not gonna pay attention to it.
I just want to go back to the original point you made as far as aesthetics. That is certainly something we talked about and a priority of all of ours, I think. So in situations when you're driving down Northfield Avenue and there's corner lots, none of us want to see a 6-foot fence along Northfield sidewalk. You know, and there's other areas of town, you know, that are high traffic, high volume areas that, you know, and that we don't want to see it as well. But in different corners of these subdivisions and areas of subdivisions where there's less traffic, less people traveling because of that, you know, there's no reason to not have them do it, and they could still, you know, they're seeking a variance and it's approved 9 times out of 10. But aesthetics is certainly, and then your safety concerns are the top 2 things that we're really worried about, and that's the first things we'll look at.
Well, talking about the aesthetics, when I built on my front, where I got a variance, I actually got compliments from my neighbors. How nice it looked. And got solar lights on it, so you can see it. There's no issues.
But did you have to, but there was no, just to clarify, there was no city requirements that it had to be white with so many feet spacing and it couldn't be over 5 feet high. There was nothing like that. But there was nothing, but I mean, there was nothing in our ordinance that told you what you could or couldn't put up. Was there?
Not material-wise.
Okay. I think that's what your point is that, you know, if I want to put a chicken wire up.
I don't think.
I don't think you'd let me, but if there is no variance process, that might be a concern.
So our current code allows for a 6-foot fence in rear and side yard. Nothing extended past the front of the house. So also our code says it has to be a permanent fence. So, you know, chicken wire wouldn't be considered a permanent fence. All of our fences have to be, the posts have to be 36 inches deep in concrete. So, you know, we have pretty strict codes as far as that goes. Also in your front yards, you can't have, if it extends into the front yard, it has to be an open fence so you could see through it. So right now, currently on our corner lots, you can extend your fence past the front of your house, but then it has to be under 4 foot tall and open.
So to your point, Clayton, the rules currently are height and
Structure, but not material.
Yeah, structure but not material. So it could be a chain link, could be a wrought iron.
Yes.
But it doesn't stipulate that it has to be metal or wood or the actual material of construction.
Yeah, front yard fences would have to be open. It could be chain link or picket fence type material.
Right.
A spaced wood, so you could see through it in the front yards. And like I said, also it has to be a permanent fence. So we don't allow permits for something that's not going to be a permanent fence.
Someone's not going to spend a lot of money putting up a garbage fence, what things cost.
So what's your pleasure?
I move to approve, as stated.
I don't know, I think we do need some specifications if we're just gonna make it so that only one person is going through and approving and denying.
So there's a motion to send this to city council, so.
Do we have a second?
I can't second it. I really do think that we need to revisit this and possibly look at changing the UDO and doing it fully. I appreciate, Clayton, you're going to have so much work to do here with all the development we're going to have. You shouldn't be looking at fences. We should have a rule that makes it easier for you.
So as far as that goes, they're gonna get a fence permit no matter what. So
Right.
what it actually does, this saves time, to be honest, because there's a lot of paperwork that goes into the variance process. And if they want their side yard, like Alderman Mike did, if they want their side yard corner fence, then they're gonna go and pay the money to get it.
It cost me like $800 more, which I didn't need to spend. I just don't want to see any other people in the city have to go through that.
If you change the UDO, all it takes is a permit.
Not a variance.
Yeah.
Which we did do with the driveways, because we kept getting in city council, people extending the driveways. And then we finally went back and changed the UDO, so that could be in-house as long as they made the setback requirements.
So what does this committee need to do if we want the UDO to be reexamined and changed?
Is there going to be a second to the motion, or is the motion going to die?
It looks like it died.
Okay. Then I would suggest that staff go back and reevaluate the UDO. We will work on a amendment to the UDO with legal counsel to bring back to this committee and see what that language is going to look like. It might take more than 2 months to do so, and go from there, if that's the direction that you're giving us to do.
It would be nice to have something a little bit more concrete that's fair to everybody, so people don't
We don't
have
want-
to spend extra money.
Yeah.
And everything is more spelled out.
Thanks, Charlie.
Have a good night. Not gonna stay for the next one, Charlie? Okay. All right, line item number 9, outdoor market permits, ordinance change.
Okay, thank you. I've been asked, as my memo stated, to put this on the agenda as consideration to change Chapter 21 of our Municipal Code, Section 2108, amending licensing fees for established businesses who are requesting to sell their product outdoors, meaning if they have a permanent business in town and they just like to pull their product outside, at this point, they need to get an outdoor market permit. If they're doing a one-day sale, it's $25. If they want to do a year-long sale, $50. The ask is to amend the ordinance so that that fee is completely waived, under the idea that they are already an established business, they're paying property tax, and really charging them another fee to basically just sell outside their building is really not something that the city needs to collect. We would still require that they register and basically get the permit itself, and so that we were aware that they were going to be selling outdoors, particularly if it was on Air Street and they were going to be obstructing the sidewalk or anything like that. We would want to know about that so we could regulate that and know what they were doing, but then the fee would automatically be waived without having to come to city council for that request. So that's the first ask. The second, in reviewing the ordinance, it was suggested that we also look at the annual fees. Currently, the annual fee is $50, and Alderman Perkins asked us to do some research of other communities and what they charge for annual fees. Jeanette took the lead on that, and you have a spreadsheet in front of you that's not in the packet. This request was, or actually I had this on late last Thursday. I didn't get it into the packet in time, but in front of you is a breakdown of what other communities charge, particularly looking at the column per year. So they go anywhere from $25 a year to $150 a year, depending on the community and what type of either vendor or vehicle. Lake in the Hills breaks down vendor and vehicle, plus they also charge a $50 background check. the suggestion for Harvard would be an annual fee of anywhere from $100 to $250, increased from $50. So those would be the two amendments that we would be asking for to the municipal ordinance at this time.
So is that how it reads? 21.08 is how it would read? Because that says $25 per calendar day or $250 per calendar.
Year, and yes, the 250 would be the one that we're trying to figure out, the negotiable rate. This is been reviewed by legal counsel for accuracy and for,
The other one nearby town that I found out about for Woodstock, they do initially 50 for the first event with food trucks, then 25 on till a max of 300.
so 50 for the first event, and then each event after that, up to $300.
Yes,
For the year.
25,
Okay.
yes,
No, that's for food trucks.
that is.
That's
Right,
just for food trucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, when we say vendors, that's broad. So that's why I asked that.
And your outdoor market actually captures anybody, but the majority of our outdoor markets are issued to food trucks.
I'm just thinking of like the farmer's market. That's an outdoor market.
Right.
Would that fall under here? Or because that's run by the chamber, that would not fall under here?
Not for profit, right?
That's a not-profit. I believe we waive that per, they come to council.
The
for
council,
waiver.
so that farmer's market was operated by the Downtown Business Alliance, and I believe the council waived their fee last year for outdoor market to help create the
Right.
farmer's market. In that case, if they were doing, we would, under normal circumstances, we would have charged the event Downtown Business Alliance the fee for the entire market versus each individual.
Okay.
So it would just be
vendor.
25.
Okay, yeah, and that's my only thing, because there are some small, when you get into craft fairs and things like that, when you talk about an example at Woodstock Pride Festival, to have a table or a booth at Woodstock Pride, I believe last year was $450 per vendor.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and guess what? They were sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, again, then people are selective of who's going to go there, what they're going to do.
Right.
There were a lot of nonprofits that were there, a lot of advocacy groups, that type of thing. Yes, there were a lot of food trucks, not so much crafts.
So the idea here of having a bit larger annual fee is because when I look at it from the business's perspective within our community, so if we're looking at food trucks versus a brick and mortar restaurant, the brick and mortar restaurant has invested in our community. They've invested in having that brick and mortar, which requires ongoing maintenance, property tax, sales tax, all of that that's incorporated in investing in Harvard to build your business there. A food truck has no loyalty to Harvard. And so if you have a food truck who is constantly setting up in Harvard, and we have a few of them, some of them live in town and their business is the food truck, it's an unfair advantage relative to our brick and mortar restaurants. And so as such, it's my belief that the annual license, if they're going to do more than just one or two times where it makes sense to buy an annual license, we should charge them more because we're a bit hedging our brick and mortar businesses, and then that funding can come in to help our economic development. So that is kind of the ask there of why the annual, especially for food trucks, we're seeking a higher value amount, is because it trying to make it a little bit more equitable for our businesses that are here every day.
I agree.
That's not to say I don't appreciate food trucks. There are a lot of great food trucks out there, and certainly want to encourage entrepreneurs to start businesses. But I also want to make sure that we recognize that those businesses who have invested in the community by being a brick and mortar, that, we give them some amount of protection for that commitment to our.
So are there possibilities for fairs, like craft fairs, being sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, not having to pay like too much of a large fee in general?
Yeah, we would just charge them the 25. It
Okay.
would be one, we would charge an umbrella, right? It would be under one umbrella for the 25. We wouldn't charge, as
Because that's more of an event
That's an event,
versus,
right.
an individual business trying to do a constant business every week, right?
Oh, like a food truck and a corner
Yeah, so
lot
for
kind of
example, a
thing.
food truck who sets up on a particular parking lot because they've got a partnership with that business, but, their only commitment to Harvard is they're providing a service of food to the community, but they're not really generating anything, as terms of a commitment to building a brick and mortar business, so.
Like that one by the gas station across from the high school football field, that corner gas station? Do they just pay a yearly fee for something like that?
At the moment, they,
Bucks.
$50 annual fee,
For a year?
yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we bring the revision of 21.08 outdoor markets as written to the city council.
I'll second the motion.
Leaving the 250.
Yeah, 250. 25 a day or 250. I'm good with that.
Since this is money, need a vote?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Alderwoman Platt-Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Hoeflich,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lancaster,
Yes?
Alderman Perkins, yes.
I will need a second vote if you're in favor of waiving a permanent waiver of established businesses, permanently waiving their fees.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that established businesses would have their fees permanently waived.
I'll second the motion.
Is that just all in favor? All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, line item number 10, discussion action on revolving loan application, Eric Brom, Hub Lounge request for a $50,000 loan at 3% interest over a 5-year term for building renovations at 15 North Air Street. This is a recommendation to send to City Council for final approval to execute mortgage documents. And it looks like we got the owners here.
Yes, if you'd like to step up, if you have any questions. Similar to other revolving loans in our economic development loan program, we're offering the same terms as the most recently approved revolving loan. So we have the owner here, if you'd like to give some background.
Yeah, I'm Eric. I run the Hub Lounge in Harvard.
Can you state your full name and address for the
I
record,
am
please?
Eric Brame. I run 15 North Air, Harvard. Been there for 15 years. Looking to get a new roof. The roof took some pretty significant weather damage, maybe like 6 weeks ago with the wind, and kind of ripped it all apart from the walls, and it all just started crumbling in. I got 3 apartments up there, and unfortunately, a couple of the tenants took some of the brunt of that. Got on it right away. I've been, even just today, we're waiting for 5 days of no rain to be able to do the roof, which isn't happening. So today I had, my guy that's gonna do it went up there with like 50 bags of sand just to keep everything with the walls. So we're making sure everything's good with the tenants upstairs and nothing else is leaking, but we're definitely ready to get going on the roof, which we're hoping it's gonna be next week. The roofing company is willing to wait for payment until this gets approved, or if it does get approved. It's a really good guy.
You have limited information in your packet because the information that's required for the loan is sensitive in nature, but all of the loan documents and the application itself have been filled out and turned in, and everything's in order as far as what's required. There's a picture of the property in your packet, so you can see the location and what they're asking to do. So the only action we would need is to refer this to City Council for final approval, there is approximately $77,000 left in the revolving loan fund. Their ask is $50,000, so we would not, this would be the last loan we would be able to issue for, until we were replenish the funds. Well, not the last loan, we would have
Full amount,
20,
yeah.
last full amount of $50,000.
Yeah.
So, so they made it just in time, but got everything in quickly and everything looks good. So I don't see any issues with referring this if you choose to do so.
Question out of curiosity, when would the next, like, fully paid off 50,000 loan come to fruition? Just
I
out of
believe the next one would come, the amortization comes to term in 3 years, and that would be Design Coach.
Which they have 2 loans out.
Yes. Because they have 2 addresses.
So, as
No, I'm
They-
sorry, excuse me,
Not tornado. There's severe thunderstorm.
it would be the Little T Smokehouse, and that's in a year and a half down,
okay.
and that was a $50,000, so they're almost done. And then
And then
Coach would be
Design
the next
Coach.
one.
And of course, as they pay back their funds each month, for their mortgage payments, those go back into the fund, and the account's always kind of growing as those payments come in. So, if someone else comes to us and wants to borrow, we can loan up to 50 or as much as is available.
I guess I would plan on paying it off within 3 years. I just would be nice not to be obligated to it, but that's definitely what we're planning on doing.
It's a 5-year loan at 3%.
With no penalty for prepayment, so
Correct.
they can prepay if
Yep.
they want. Gotcha.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
That's a roll call, please.
Yes. All right, Alderwoman Platt-Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Hoeflich,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lancaster,
Yes,
Alderman Perkins, yes.
All right,
So
thank you.
that'll go to City Council on April
Appreciate it.
28th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, line item number 11, discussion, action to CC approve Hampton, Lanzini, and Renwick, Inc. for 2026-2027 plan review and inspection services.
Okay, this particular inspection service, we've met with on multiple occasions now. We've gone through the fee schedules for the one that we're using, HLR as well. That's the one that's on the agenda, and a third one, and their fee schedules were, they were all fairly similar, but HLR was a little cheaper and certainly more personable. Dan Strite, and actually they're local, so, which makes it really nice. I've already been out on a few inspections with them to kind of really just as a teaching aspect. So it's really nice to be able to work with somebody that's more local and to be able to call them for questions, meet with them, and in this particular case, if there's inspections that we can't be on, then being able to coordinate with them and knowing exactly what's going on. The current inspection company that we have are, they're not local, not personable. I've never met them. So we get notices that they've been out on inspections when they have been out on inspections, but other than that, like, I've never met any of them. So like I said, this local inspection service and we've met some of the representatives from them that have taken it upon themselves to meet with us, and they're willing to go out with us on different inspections that we're doing currently. So that's been a nice nice learning aspect as well. The current, they also have their own software, which is definitely more user-friendly, which will save a lot of time. The current software that we're using, Community Core, a lot of the information that we're putting into the program, into the software is really self-redundant. A lot of it, we have to put the same information in multiple times, so it's time-consuming when it doesn't have to be. So we've gone over the software with HLR, and it certainly seems more user-friendly.
Is this the one with Dan Streitson?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's a pretty good inspector. I've worked with him a lot of years.
It will be more efficient to go with HLR. Right now, we use Safe Built for our plan reviews, and we use BNF for our inspections. So we're using two different companies. This will be one company doing both of those services that we can't do in-house. We'll be able to do our plan reviews and inspections, for the most part residential in-house. It'll be the larger commercial projects that we'll be utilizing HLR for. The other nice feature with HLR is when they do their plan reviews, they'll also, Dan particularly, will be able to tell us what type of extra fees we might need to pass back on to the developer for additional inspection services that might be required depending on the project, which will be nice to know. And he's also going to help us reevaluate our permit and plan review fee schedule, which is, as we have talked about, one of our high priority projects coming up. So. And they did, going back to the software, they did create the software based on our data that they demonstrated for us, and took significant amount of time to do so. That software comes with 3 users, and if we were to ever stop using those services, that software is ours to keep. So we keep all of our data.
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion?
Yes.
For the city council.
Could I make a motion, or I would like to make a motion to refer this to city council as stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, number 12, staff report.
The report is in the packet, just some updates. One thing I wanted to highlight is there are a couple upcoming events. One in particular, I wanted to make sure this committee was invited to. As part of Economic Development Week and National Travel and Tourism Week, the McHenry County Economic Development Corporation, in partnership with Naturally McHenry County, is hosting a networking event in Huntley, early May 6th. I'd be happy to send you the link if you'd like to join that event. It's kind of just meant, because we partner with both organizations as the city, it would be great if you'd like to meet other economic development leaders in the county. Otherwise, let me know if you have any questions. If you'd like to sign up for that, I have the link, but I'm not sure if it links in the agenda that you got, so just let me know and I'd be happy to email you the link directly. Thanks.
Where in Huntley is, is it?
It's at the brewery So Hopped.
Okay. In Huntley.
How did
So
the,
down 47.
It's like 47 in Maine, right? Okay.
how did the presentation go for the CDBG grant?
I think it went well. We were very organized, and I appreciated partnering with Deb on that. Did you want to add anything?
We were the second to go this morning, so it was nice. It was an all-day interview process for the committee, and we were number 2, so we got to go right away and get it over with. So I think it went okay.
Well, that's good.
We'll see what.
Is there,
how it turns
what's the
out.
timeline they said?
They really didn't give us a timeline. I know it's like the 2-day, they have so many that it's like 2 full days of interviews. So they didn't really specify when they would make their decision.
Okay.
I think history experience would dictate that it usually takes sometime late in the summer, maybe even early fall before those announcements or awards are announced, so.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the community development report is also in the packet. A couple of items that I did want to go over that's, at the top of everybody's list is McDonald's. I'm sure everybody's wondering why that hasn't opened yet. I was just in there, and I was in there in the Starbucks as well. So McDonald's, if many of you don't know, is a test site. So I spoke
Is it
to this. It's a test site.
Oh.
So I spoke to the superintendent, and they're hoping to be open in 2 weeks. But the issue is that representatives of McDonald's aren't really in a hurry because it's a test site and they want it to be perfect. The explanation of the test site is basically when they come up with great ideas that they're excited about, for whatever reason, they chose Harvard. So,
Well, just be clear, this store is a corporate-owned store, it's not a franchise, so.
Right.
That's kind of why it's
Yeah.
in that, as a test
So
site.
they get super excited and they want to put it in our hometown McDonald's. And right now, there's some back order on some material, some ceiling material. But also there's, when corporate representatives come out, there's been multiple changes. Like I said, and that's just something they have to deal with. So it's back to the drawing board with a few things. And, but like I said, they haven't really been, originally they were supposed to open a month ago. But they're not in too big of a hurry because they want to get it right. And they're excited about, some of the additions to the McDonald's, and it's looking pretty neat inside. So they're guessing 2 weeks. I know that the superintendent has another project going on in that time frame, and pretty much needs to be done. Starbucks, not really a similar situation. I talked to the superintendent there as well, which is a new one. They're hoping to be open in 8 weeks, give or take a week. Also, there's been some designs within the Starbucks that have changed, but they're waiting on a couple inspections, and they started hanging drywall. So, again, their superintendent also has a project that he has to be at in 8 weeks, so he's really pushing, and he's there all day, every day. So his office is where they're working. And so there's somebody there that's a driving force, which is good to see.
Mm-hmm.
I do have something to add to that, and I apologize, I got a call late yesterday, so I haven't had time to catch up with the community development staff yet, from a realtor who's a new representative of Starbucks, and was forwarded my last email to the previous developer regarding the sidewalk escrow, which I talked to this developer again 2 weeks ago regarding the outstanding fees the city is still owed. And the realtor I spoke with yesterday is very concerned about the fact that Starbucks never knew that this sidewalk escrow was owed until 2 weeks ago. And he is diligently working on making sure that those funds are paid so that their occupancy permit is not held up. So I expect to see that
Before they open up.
funding within the next couple of weeks. So just an update on that.
Thank you.
Also, something I wanted to talk about too is that it's been, of course, something that we've really wanted to see improvement is code enforcement. So that's normally this isn't added to this particular packet as far as I've been made aware of. But we wanted to put in the breakdown of, and sent out 120 notices this month, or in the month of March, which is a huge improvement. So with my role as obviously as I continue to learn in my role, she's able to get out on the road a lot more. We have a code enforcement plan that we are talking about, and but initially, right now, she's really enforcing some of the things that she's wrote, property maintenance issues that she's already wrote up. Some of these issues with code enforcement also directly affect permits as well. So a lot of the issues that people do have as far as the repairs that they need to do to properties is now is the time we got to hit that, so they have all summer to take care of them. And a lot of times they have to get a permit to to do these. So,
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Number 13, strategic vision. Anything on that?
Actually, I will be attending a meeting of the minds downtown Chicago at Cliff Dwellers on Thursday evening. It is called The Business of Art. There will be several artists, business people, politicians from Chicago meeting casually. So I'm hoping to bring back some ideas and maybe connections or money.
Fantastic. I should note for the committee that, my hopes are that we can create a art commission by the end of the summer. So I've already started soliciting people who are interested in serving on that commission. So if there are people that you know or are interested, please have them reach out to my office. I've already identified a couple of people who are very interested in this, so I think it won't take long for us to get a committee together by the end of, or a commission together by the end of the summer.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's enough interest in this. The only thing, and I've talked to Deb and to Joe about this, the only piece that we might be missing in looking at other communities, they have, the city has an art commission, and then there's this nonprofit over there. And what happens is when there's a nonprofit, a 503C, and a city, that's when money seems to come in. That way the city doesn't have to fund it all, and the nonprofit can receive funds that the city can't. The city can receive funds that the nonprofit can't.
Which is the same idea that the Harvard Parks Foundation was created, although it hasn't quite developed into the funding that you're discussing, but that model is set up for the parks.
And I'm really, like I said, Thursday is really my first time meeting with some influential people who have done this before, who maybe I can gather some information. Who knows, maybe they want a chapter out here. Maybe someone's got something they want a chapter out here. I don't know. I won't know till Thursday, but everybody keep your fingers crossed and send out good vibes.
Thank you. Anyone else on the vision? No? All right, how about new business?
Next Wednesday, April 22nd, is the MCOG meeting in
Ringwood.
No,
Ringwood.
sorry.
And ComEd will be there discussing battery storage, correct? I believe that's going to be one of the topics of conversation, which might be a good one for particularly this committee to attend.
I will be attending.
If you can. It may or may not be a topic, but it will probably come up. That is something, we attended a meeting yesterday in Crystal Lake, and that's going to be something that we're going to have to address probably here in the near future. So if anyone wants to attend, please let me know, and I can RSVP on that for next Wednesday night at 5 o'clock.
I did want to mention under new business, just so this committee is aware, the city has issued a stop work order to USMG and also a no occupancy because of their mechanical fire suppression and fire alarming system. There are some other issues that are happening within the building that they need to address code enforcement wise, but the fire safety is a big issue. The water last month, or it's been 2 months now, when they had failed to pay their water bill, the water was shut off, and they immediately paid it after they realized the problem. But once the water is shut off, that requires a re-inspection by fire district to ensure that the fire suppression system is working properly. It took us a while to get that inspection in place. Once we did the inspection, the fire marshals and as well as their inspectors, fire marshal inspectors, and Harvard Fire Protection District, as well as our building department, went through the building, found many violations. The alarming system is not operating, and there are problems with the fire suppression system.
Which building is this?
System. This is the former Motorola facility.
Oh, okay.
So the building is currently non-occupiable, and staff has been working, hopefully, with the company to try and get them to bring the building into compliance. Just wanted to make sure you were aware of that was going on. So. That's all I have.
Anything else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
All right, thank you, good night.
You can say.